I'm Evelyn.
I'm Josh.
I'm Elaine.
I'm Celeste.
And I'm Mikayla.
And this is our presentation on Japan and North and South Korea.
To start off, we're going to talk about the economics. Japan is a country populated by 127.6 million people, and they have an economic freedom score of 72.4, showing progress in terms of the amount of choices citizens have regarding trade and investments. Though there is a decrease in market freedom, Japan's economy still remains steady with only a 4.4% of employment and 2% growth. The economic system is further seen as resilient and able to bounce back after disasters. In 1991, the Tokyo Stock Exchange, the second largest stock exchange in the world by market capitalization, crashed and there was a slower growth in market, but the GDP capita growth still managed to surpass Europe and America. Though Japan does face obstacles for their economic system, historical events such as their growth at World War II and other economic disasters prove that they are able to overcome these difficulties together as a country. South Korea's economic freedom ranks slightly below Japan, ranking the 31st freest according to the 2014 index. The index says South Korea is ranked 8th out of 42 countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Over the past year, there have been improvements in their economic freedom regarding business, labor, and fiscal aspects. Due to its size, South Korea is also a country always struggling with overpopulation and overgrowth of the people in its society. Throughout history, the economy has also suffered due to economic crisis. In 1997, South Korea went through a liquidity crisis and damage to its credit rating. On top of this, South Korea is in constant military and political conflict with North Korea. Yet, with all these struggles, South Korea managed to recover and surpass even its old economic status with a dramatic revival of economic growth and rates. North Korea, a country globally known to be isolated politically, economically, and socially, has a population of 24.7 million according to the Index of Economic Freedom. They have a gross domestic product of 40 billion and a slight economic growth of 8.8%. Regarding limits of government, they have zero records of fiscal freedom and government spending. Kim Jong-un is now the political leader of North Korea, and though he is educated with Western influences, he runs the market with the same reforms as before, and quote, every aspect of the economy is tightly controlled by the Communist Party. North Korea to this day continues to be one of the most underdeveloped and poorest countries in the world, a drastic contrast compared to its neighbor South Korea, who continues to thrive in economic growth and freedom as one of the richest and most developed countries in this day and age.
Alright, so moving on to historical geography. The people groups of Japan consist of the Ainu, the Hamon, and the Yayo. The Ainu were the first to settle Japan and are currently the only distinct ethnic group left in Japan. The Ainu's features consist of short in stature, high cheekbones, dark skin, double eyelids, and lots of hair. The Yayo from the Korean peninsula, and also linked to the Han Chinese, are characterized as being white, having small single lid eyelids, long faces, thin lips, and also with hairlessness. The Hamon, who have similar features to Filipino, Mexican, and Vietnamese, are characterized with square jaws, dark skin, deep-set, double-lidded eyelids, bigger lips, with more body hair than the average East Asian. The Ainu, right here on the left, and the Hamon, who are characterized similar to the Mexican features, are on the left, with the Yayo on the right. Moving on to the language, the official language of Japan is Japanese. They have two different main symbols, the kanji, which represents single ideas or objects, with kana, which represents phonetic syllables or word fragments. The kanji are on the left, and the kana are on the right. Moving on to the political and economic history of Japan. Japan established their capital in Tokyo in 794 Common Era. Then it was known as Edo, not Tokyo. The Tokugawa dynasty, which reigned from 1603 to 1868, tried to maintain a traditional Japanese society. By doing this, they closed off their borders to missionaries, Christianity, and many foreigners. They were eventually overthrown by the Meiji imperial clan in 1868, which followed tried to modernize and industrialize their nation. Military victories over China in 1895, Russia in 1905, Taiwan also in 1905, Korea in 1910, and Manchuria in 1931 expanded their economy and also their ego, which prompted them to bomb Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, which eventually led in their ultimate destruction in 1945 when the atomic bomb was dropped, which eventually crushed their economy. Surprisingly, they recovered in only 6 years, with the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, which guides and organizes corporations into successful business networks. Throughout the 1980s, Japan was a major producer of cars and televisions, which has led to their gross economic growth. Moving on to Korea, pre-war Korea, to be more specific. The Koryo dynasty, where the modern pronunciation of Korea comes from, ruled from 918 to 1392. They also established close to the present borders where Korea currently resides. The Choson dynasty, ruled from 1392 to 1910, was very closed off and isolated, and only allowed their main contacts visits to China 3 to 4 times a year. In 1910, they were annexed by Japan, which they were characterized by harsh rule, as well as many forced name changes from Korean ones to those of Japanese origin. In 1945, with the end of World War II, Korea was split into Soviet North and a U.S.-supported South. In 1950, the North invaded the South, which prompted the UN and U.S. forces to strike back. In 1953, the war ended where it started, at the 38th parallel, with a demilitarized zone. After the split, North Korea has been heavily influenced by the Soviet and Chinese culture. Like many totalitarian regimes, North Korea is characterized with heavy propaganda. They have one state-owned news agency, the Korean Central News Agency. There have even been stories of North Korea's second great leader, Kim Jong-il, who died in 2012 of bowling a perfect 300 his first time, or hitting 5 holes in one his first attempt at golf. South Korea has also been characterized with little political or economic freedom. Syngman Rhee was the first president after the Korean conflict, and he ruled till 1960, where fraud in the election forced him to step down. In 1961, there's a military coup. In 1963, the Third Republic was formed under General Park Chung-hee, who alleviated some political and economic stress. In 1986, direct elections were implemented under this Third Republic, and in 1987, South Korea saw their first directly elected president under Roh Tae-wo.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the physical geography of Japan and South and North Korea. Japan is an island nation in East Asia extending along the Pacific coast of Asia. Japan consists of several thousands of islands, specifically 2,456, the largest of which are Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku, which are known as the home islands. Its neighboring countries are Korea, Russia, and China. It is surrounded by the Sea of Japan, which lies between 24 and 46 degree north latitude and 123 and 146 east longitude. Politically, Japan is split into 8 regions and 47 prefectures, which are districts with local and county governments. Because Japan is located in a region where several continental plates meet, the country has many volcanoes, and it also witnesses many earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. To this day, Japan has over 100 active volcanoes. The volcanoes belong to the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area in the basin of the Pacific Ocean where frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur. The Ring of Fire is a 40,000-kilometer horseshoe with a series of oceanic trenches, volcanic arcs, volcanic belts, and plate movements. One of the most famous mountains and volcanoes in Japan is Mount Bandai, with an elevation of 1,819 meters. More than 50% of the country is mountainous and covered by forests. One of the largest mountains of Japan is Mount Fuji, which reaches elevations of 3,776 meters and is located on Honshu Island. It is also one of the three holy mountains. One of the most famous forests is Aokigahara Forest, which is also known as Suicide Forest or Sea of Trees, which has the land area of a total of 35 square kilometers, and it is located at the northwest base of Mount Fuji. Tourist attractions in this forest include Narasuhu Ice Cave and Wind Cave. On the southern half of the Korean peninsula, it is South Korea. South Korea is mostly surrounded by water. The only country land bordering it is North Korea, which lies only 238 kilometers north. The Yellow Sea borders its west coast, the East China Sea borders its south, and the Sea of Japan borders its east. Its coastline extends 2,413 kilometers, bordered by these three seas. The total land area of the peninsula, including the islands, is 223 and 170 square kilometers. The largest island in the South Korea region is Jeju-do, located in one of the 9 provinces of the country. North Korea is the northern half of the peninsula, sharing a border with Russia, China, and South Korea. North Korea has an area of 120 and 538 kilometers, with 130 kilometers of it being water, making it slightly smaller than the state of Mississippi. Terrain in North Korea consists mainly of mountains and hills that are separated by deep and narrow river valleys, with its highest point being Big Do Mountain and its lowest point being the Sea of Japan.
Now on to the cultural aspects of Japan, North Korea, and South Korea. Here are some of the languages of Japan. In Japan, there are many Japanese at 98.5%, and the rest of the population is made up of Koreans and Chinese. The Japanese culture is rich and diverse, full of traditional arts and contemporary pop culture. Here are some of the customs of Japan, some being addressing someone with respect, table manners, and no tipping. The main religions of Japan are Shinto and Buddhism. A little bit of cultural history for Japan is that they did not become a rice-loving culture until 300 BCE. In both North Korea and South Korea, the main language is Korean. In both of these countries, the people groups are made up of mostly Koreans with a few Chinese. The North Korean culture is based on communist ideology, whereas the South Korean culture is influenced by Confucianism. Here are some of the North and South Korean customs. In North Korea, there are religious strains of shamanism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism. In South Korea, Christianity, Buddhism, and Confucianism are all practiced. Now on to the biogeography of Japan, North Korea, and South Korea. In Japan, there are 5,600 different species of vascular plants, and 1,950 are native to the country. In Japan, there are 370 different species of birds and about 90 species of mammals. Japan is also the largest importer of coal and liquefied gas, and the second largest importer of oil. In both North Korea and South Korea, they have many plants, and the main one is pine. There are also many animals in North Korea and South Korea, but the two that they have in common are deer and tigers. The main natural resource in North Korea and South Korea is coal.
Now on to medical. In Japan, they provide medical through screening, examinations, prenatal care, and infectious disease control. They have a universal health care system that provides equality of access to fees set by a government committee, and offers medical to people without insurance. In South Korea, they also have a universal health care system that started in 1977 and finished in 1989. North Korea provides a national medical service and health insurance system, and it's offered for free. And North Korea is said to be envied by the developing world for their medical practice. Now on to political geography. Japan is a multi-party parliamentary representative democratic constitution. Japan is made up of the empire, legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial branch. Their religions are Shinto and Buddhism. Shinto is as old as Japanese culture, and Buddhism came from the 16th century. Japan was included in 2 wars. South Korea is a presidential representative democratic republic with a president, executive power, legislative, and judiciary. In North Korea, they are a single-party republic where the Supreme People's Assembly is the highest of state authority and holds legislative power.
The executive cabinet of North Korea is headed by the president. There are 3 religions practiced in North Korea. Buddhism is the religion practiced more frequently in North Korea. There was one war fought between both Koreas called the Korean War.